that food and sell that food so y'all have stuff out on the road?
We had ladies from all over the county, every community in this county. Every now and then, people, we would get together as a solid group. But each individual community, because Black and Packers Bend, those people were kind of shut off by the river. But they too would participate and cooperate, and that took place Frisco City, Uriah, all over the county. We had little groups like that supported the movement, and of course they were well organized and kept intact of the needs, and whenever there was a need, they was always there.
Went into action.
Right.
Ms. William, do you recall anything in particular, a trip or anything that sticks in your mind that really had you praying even harder when they was out there? Is there any particular date or anything that sticks in your mind that you could recall now?
My job was to stay at home, take care of the children, protect him, the children. But we did have people that supported us, but they didn't want to
make it public.
Make it publicly because they didn't want their jobs to be taken away from them too. So it was like you said, it was a fearful thing. But we did get some support.
I can remember what most of the people didn't understand was, and Mr. Cunningham used to tell me about it, and you can tell me your position on it too, Mr. Williams. Just like Ms. Williams said, the people that had the good jobs,
right,
them folk weren't doing too much.
Yeah.
They were scared of losing their job.
Right.
So they had to lay low. And the ones that did help you guys, they had to make that almost secret. Because Mr. Cunningham used to tell me, the folks that had the good jobs, you didn't see them folks out front.
Right.
Because the superintendents and whatever, just like they did you, Mr. Williams, would take their jobs.
Yeah, they knew that. And of course, that was understandable because they're going to use whatever they could to discourage it. But I said one thing, and this was before I got into it, about Mr. Cunningham. He was not a fearful person about jobs or about his life or his health or anything else. He was dedicated to that cause, and it was because of his dedication that encouraged me that somebody else had to stand out there with him. And so I made the decision to get with him and to let him help me to organize groups in the various communities. But I give him all of the credit so far as the initial stands were concerned, because it seemed to me that he was fighting the battle by himself for the most part. And he didn't seem to mind it. Even people that sometimes, rather than speak to him if he in town, there are some black folks that will cross the street and go somewhere else rather than to let folks see them speaking, talking to Elder Cunningham. It was just that bad. And it was a result of that encouraged me to say, well, now somebody, the man is out there trying to help us, and somebody's going to have to come to his side and assist him. Because if he's out there by himself, then we have lost the battle. Because he can't stand out there. No man can stand alone forever. You've tried a while, but you're going to have some assistance. And as a result, we were able to organize a few other leaders. I called some names a while ago and got local leaders from all over the county and all the communities in the county to come together and formulate what we call a Monroe County Leadership Action Committee. And that was helped us to put this thing together and oppose the system. And even though I lost the job, but I think I gained more than what I lost. In 10 years without employment by the Board of Education. But thank God, I never missed a payment on a house note or a car note or a grocery bill or nothing else that I endeavored in. And I always had a few dollars in my pocket. And I thank God for that. And I thank not only God, because I know it was God that inspired the citizens. And it was because of the cooperation of these citizens that we were able to survive and to fulfill our responsibilities.
Okay. During the years that you guys were active as an organization, NAACP, there were many challenges that faced y'all, but one of those challenges was that in Monroe County, in the early history of electing officials, there was a thing called districting. And countywide, a black person could never get elected. So you guys brought a lawsuit, litigation that lasted over 8 years.
Right.
And at the end of that, there was a compromise made with the county commissioners, made 2 districts out of 4 with black majority voters. Right. Tell us about that battle and what led to that. I kind of indicated what led to the battle, but tell us about that struggle prior to that and that battle itself in the courts.
Well, when the courts do something, even today, number one, it's very influential because the courts has the last word. So in order to change anything that the court said or did, or even change their opinion about anything, it meant that we as a people then had to stretch out and strengthen our power, if I can use that word, because power was what it was all about, really. In fact, we come up with a word, and a lot of people didn't understand why, maybe, but the term black power came into existence, because there was already white power, and it wasn't any black power, because what little few people we had trying to do something, we were controlled primarily by white power. So it took a lot of emphasis being placed on black power and a lot of movements, and that was the thing that got us to start to organizing our people and to getting them to vote, because we knew that the bottom line was when you got something that somebody want or need, then you got some power. But if you don't have any control over anything, then you don't have any power. So we started concentrating on what we call the vote, which was what we named black power and the black vote. And even though we run into a lot of opposition, and sometimes that opposition would be among our own people, but we didn't give up. We kept fighting until once we got a certain status, a certain percentage of our people registered to vote, we could begin to feel that power was there. Because then the white politicians started recognizing us, and at least now they would come and ask us to vote for them. But prior to that, they didn't even worry about coming to us to ask about voting for nothing, because they had the whole bag in their hand. So we could feel a sense of responsibility, and we could feel a sense of power as we gradually increased our voting strength in this county and in the state of Alabama all over. And that's another thing. We come up with state organizations. See, we had local groups, but then we come up with ADC, that was Alabama Democratic Conference, which was a statewide organization, black organization, created by Joe Reed and others in the Montgomery area. But it reached out, and all of the counties in the state had branch offices. And I dare say that state Democratic Conference was very instrumental in bringing about a change in the voting strength of getting black people organized, and wasn't necessarily fighting against the whites, but we were fighting for our people. And we put up all the efforts to get our people registered to vote, And then after we got them ready to vote, we had a system where we could pool those votes. And of course, I don't know whether I was so favorable of the idea of block voting or not, but on our circumstances, that was the only way it was going to be effective. No point in us beating our brains out to really vote for somebody else unless we were going to get some results from those people. So when we got that block vote going and it became effective, we didn't have to run black candidates all the time, but we could give our support to a certain white candidate. And that candidate would recognize our efforts and give us some of the things that we needed if they were elected. And so we were very successful in getting black people elected, but we were also successful in getting some white voters elected, and they too were appreciative and threw some support our way as relates to their being elected.
Okay. That lawsuit, that litigation lasted for 8 years, and the financing of that litigation, can you remember any key organizations or people during that time that pooled their resources or their land or whatever to pay those attorneys to handle that case? Because the litigation, I imagine those in the power structures was hoping that you all wouldn't last.
Right.
But it did last. The litigation did last for a total of 8 years. How did y'all finance that? And
well, we appealed to the churches and the pastors and the Christians and many communities. And it was at this time that people like Mr. and Mrs. Howard, Real McIntosh, Mr. Leo Bumpers, and Willie Williams, and Joe Foster, and the Richardsons, and all, and many more that are throughout the county, because we were able to kind of, on a county-wide basis, reach out and get black leaders from the various communities. And they, in turn, would work with those communities and have fish fries and cake sales and whatever it took to raise money to help us to support our movement and to keep people active, because we just didn't have, we weren't financially able to do it without this type of cooperation. And it was through those efforts that I give every community in this county who came to our aid and in their own way supported the movement. And they may not have been seen openly, but I can say for sure that every community in Monroe County helped to support this movement. And today we're so happy that we can say, well, we give all of these leaders and all communities credit for the efforts in getting this thing going.
Let me say this in regards to people that are watching this and listening to this. That is what makes the black struggle so powerful. A lot of times we only see the person out front, but there are some things working behind the scenes to make it happen. Like Ms. Williams at home, making sure the kids safe and going back and forth to school and different things like that, and not raising issues that would bring attention to that the family would get harmed, you know. As a result of this litigation, the first person elected as a result of this litigation being settled, Mr. Alec Roberts became the very first black commissioner in Monroe County. The second person to become commissioner as a result of this was Mr. Charlie McCorvey Jr. He's deceased now. And one of the things that I experienced is when Reverend Brown was running for the Board of Education, because of you guys getting that cell so forth as redistricting, the white community, I was told this story about a number of times by Mr. Cunningham, and you can help me out on your interpretation of it, that they allowed, first, one of the premises for the suit that the black couldn't get elected countywide.
Right.
So what the white, I was told, you correct me if I'm wrong, I was told that